Officer Jake was known around the precinct as a top cop. He strutted through the station with his chest out, convinced that the shiny badge on his uniform made him untouchable. To him, it symbolized power and authority. He thrived on respect, believing that people feared him because of his position. With every arrest, he felt more invincible, certain his badge would always protect him from any consequences. Jake often brushed off complaints about his behavior as mere jealousy from those who didn't have his skills. He enjoyed the thrill of being in control and took pride in enforcing the law. However, beneath that confident exterior lay an arrogance that blinded him to the reality of his actions. It was this arrogance that would lead him down a path he never expected, a path where he would meet someone who would challenge everything he thought he knew about justice and power. Little did he know, soon enough, he would face a test that would change his life forever. One evening, Officer Jake received a call about a disturbance at a local diner. He rushed to the scene, eager to show off his authority. Upon arrival, he found a woman named Maria, visibly upset and arguing with the staff over a misunderstood payment. Maria was a single mother, struggling to make ends meet, and the stress of her situation showed on her face. Jake quickly assessed the situation, dismissing Maria as just another troublemaker causing a scene. He didn't take the time to listen to her side of the story. Instead, he focused on asserting control. With a wave of his hand, he ordered Maria to step outside. Underestimating her, he believed that her background as a waitress made her an easy target. He thought it would be a simple arrest, but he had no idea how resilient she truly was. As he cuffed her, Jake felt satisfied, unaware that this encounter would soon lead to unexpected consequences for him. As Jake pulled Maria outside, he couldn't hide his disdain. He rolled his eyes at her frantic explanations, shrugging off her pleas for understanding. "You think you can just shout your way out of this?" he scoffed, his voice dripping with condescension. To him, Maria was nothing more than a nuisance, someone who didn't belong in the world he patrolled. He tightened the cuffs around her wrists, ignoring her winces of discomfort. "Maybe next time you'll think twice before causing a scene," he commented smugly. His attitude was dismissive and belittling, as if her struggles meant nothing to him. Jake felt justified in his actions, convinced that his badge gave him the right to treat people however he pleased. In that moment, Maria's frustration turned into anger. She knew she wasn't just a troublemaker. She was fighting for herself and her child. Little did Jake realize that this encounter would soon shatter his perception of power and respect. The day of the court hearing arrived, and Officer Jake strode into the courtroom with a confident smirk. He felt invincible, certain that his badge and reputation would carry him to an easy victory. As he glanced around, he saw familiar faces, civilians and fellow officers alike, who he believed would support him. Jake eagerly took his place at the front, ready to present his case against Maria. With a clear sense of superiority, he began recounting the incident at the diner, embellishing details to paint himself as the heroic officer who saved the day. The judge listened attentively, but Jake was too wrapped up in his own confidence to notice any flickers of doubt in the audience. He imagined the jury nodding along, convinced that his word alone was enough to seal Maria's fate. In his mind, it was just another routine case, but beneath the surface, tensions were brewing that would soon challenge everything he thought he knew about justice. As the courtroom proceedings continued, a new presence emerged. Maria's lawyer, Sarah, a passionate advocate for justice. With her sharp intellect and fierce determination, she was ready to take on Officer Jake's narrative. Sarah entered the room with a calm confidence, quickly scanning the faces of the jury and the judge, noting their expressions. She understood the stakes of this case, not just for Maria, but for anyone who felt powerless in the face of authority. Sarah believed in her client's innocence wholeheartedly. She had spent countless hours preparing for this moment, digging into the details of the arrest and researching Jake's past cases to find inconsistencies. When it was her turn to speak, she stood tall and addressed the court with sincerity and clarity. "Today, we are not just here to defend Maria. We are here to uphold the truth," she declared, ready to challenge Jake's version of events. With every word, Sarah aimed to reveal the reality behind the badge, casting a light on the true nature of justice. As the trial progressed, Sarah began to lay out her case methodically. She called witnesses who had been present at the diner, each providing their own perspective that contradicted Jake's account. With each testimony, the atmosphere in the courtroom grew tense. Murmurs rippled through the audience as they absorbed the evidence against the officer. Then came the turning point. Sarah introduced surveillance footage from the diner that clearly showed Maria was not being aggressive, but rather upset over a misunderstanding. The video painted a very different picture than Jake's portrayal of a troublemaker. As she played the clip for everyone to see, Jake's confidence began to waver. Sarah's voice rang out strong and clear as she pointed out specific moments in the footage that revealed Jake's inconsistencies. "This is what really happened," she asserted, challenging his credibility directly. The tension escalated as eyes shifted between Jake and Sarah, and for the first time, doubts about his integrity began to creep into the minds of those present in the courtroom. As the trial unfolded, flashbacks of Maria's life began to surface, revealing the struggles she faced each day. She was a single mother working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. Each morning, she rose before dawn, preparing breakfast for her young daughter and ensuring she got to school on time, often sacrificing her own needs for her child's well-being. Maria faced countless challenges, bills piling up, an unreliable car breaking down, and the constant worry about providing a stable home. Yet, despite these obstacles, she found resilience within herself. She built a support network with other parents in her community, sharing resources and encouraging one another through tough times. These glimpses into Maria's life highlighted her strength and determination. She was not just a woman in distress. She was a fighter who had navigated through life's adversities with grace. As memories of her battles filled the courtroom, it became increasingly clear that Jake had underestimated not only her circumstances, but also her spirit. The turning point in the trial came when Sarah decided to directly confront Jake's credibility. She cross-examined him with precision, asking questions that exposed his biases and assumptions about Maria. "Did you consider her circumstances before making your arrest?" she pressed, watching as Jake's confidence began to crack. With each answer, it became clear that he had relied on stereotypes rather than facts. Sarah pointed out how he failed to take into account Maria's emotional state during the incident, illuminating his lack of empathy. The jury shifted in their seats, their expressions revealing growing doubt about Jake's integrity. Then, Sarah revealed a critical piece of evidence, a record of complaints against Jake for similar behavior in past cases. "This isn't about justice. It's about power," she asserted boldly. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as jurors exchanged glances, questioning whether they could trust the officer who had once seemed so untouchable. This moment marked a significant shift in the atmosphere of the trial, leaving everyone wondering if Jake would truly face accountability for his actions. As the trial progressed, Officer Jake began to feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. His earlier confidence had eroded, replaced by a growing realization that his badge was not a shield against scrutiny. He sat in the witness stand, watching Sarah articulate each point with clarity and conviction. The murmurs from the jury and the shifting glances weighed heavily on him, sowing seeds of doubt in his mind. Jake's heart raced as he noticed the change in atmosphere. The very people who once looked up to him now seemed skeptical of his actions. He tried to maintain his composed demeanor, but the cracks were becoming more visible. Each question Sarah posed chipped away at his authority, unraveling his tightly held belief that being an officer automatically commanded respect. For the first time, Jake pondered whether he would truly be held accountable for his decisions. That thought sent chills down his spine, forcing him to confront the reality that power does not always equate to righteousness. As the jury returned to deliver their verdict, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. Officer Jake sat rigidly in his chair, anxiety coursing through him as he awaited the decision that would determine his fate. Maria, flanked by Sarah, held her breath, hoping for justice after all she had endured. When the foreman finally announced the verdict, not guilty, A wave of relief swept over Maria and her supporters. Cheers erupted from the gallery, while Jake's face fell in disbelief. The jury had seen through his armor of authority and recognized Maria's humanity over Jake's badge. In the aftermath of the trial, discussions began about accountability for law enforcement officers like Jake. The case sparked a conversation within the community about respect and empathy, emphasizing that power comes with responsibility. Jake was left to grapple with the consequences of his actions, forced to confront a new reality where his badge no longer shielded him from accountability, marking a turning point not just for him, but for justice itself. In the aftermath of the trial, Officer Jake found himself reflecting on the experience that had profoundly changed his perspective. No longer did he see his badge as a symbol of invincibility. Instead, it became a reminder of the responsibility he held to serve and protect with integrity. The courtroom experience forced him to confront his arrogance and acknowledge the impact of his actions on others. Jake started to understand that true authority comes not from a badge, but from respect and humility. He realized that every individual he encountered deserved compassion, regardless of their circumstances. This newfound awareness sparked a desire for growth within him. He sought to learn from his mistakes and build better relationships within the community he served. As he walked through the precinct, Jake made a conscious effort to engage with colleagues and citizens alike, listening more than speaking. He hoped that by embodying humility, he could rebuild trust and become the officer he once believed he was, a protector who truly served the community, rather than merely wielded power. In the wake of the trial, both Officer Jake and Maria found themselves at a crossroads, shaped profoundly by their shared experience. For Maria, the verdict was not just a personal victory. It reaffirmed her strength and resilience in the face of injustice. Empowered by the outcome, she decided to become an advocate for others facing similar struggles, sharing her story to inspire hope and change within her community. Meanwhile, Jake's transformation was equally significant. He began to approach his role as an officer with newfound humility and compassion, understanding that respect must be earned and that each interaction held the potential to make a difference. He committed to engaging with community members, listening to their stories, and serving as a protector rather than just an enforcer. As time passed, both characters learned that justice is not merely about legal outcomes, but also about personal growth and accountability. Their journeys underscored the importance of empathy in law enforcement and the power of individuals to effect meaningful change in their communities. This incident marked the beginning of a brighter future for both Maria and Jake, rooted in understanding and respect.